Hello everyone, my name is Christian and welcome to The Gnostic Christian, the channel designed to utilize texts from a variety of different religions in order to open up the conversation about spirituality and consciousness growth and development. Today I'm going to be talking about our personal shadows. What exactly are our personal shadows? What are their nature? As well as what we can do in our lives in order to remove them and incorporate a healthier light inside of us. Today I'm going to be taking two different texts. I'm going to be reading from On the Origin of the World, just a small part of the beginning of there, and I'm also going to be reading a section from the Gospel of Philip, and it's just kind of a short paragraph, and that one's more towards the end of the Gospel of Philip. So let's go ahead and get started. On the Origin of the World, this is the prologue in the beginning. Since everyone, both the gods of the world and people, say that nothing existed before chaos, I shall prove they all are wrong, because they do not know the origin of chaos or its root. Here is the proof. Although certainly people in general are inclined to say that chaos is darkness, in actuality chaos comes from a shadow, and it is the shadow that has been called darkness. The shadow comes from something that has existed from the beginning, and so it is obvious that something in the beginning existed before chaos came into being, and chaos came after what was in the beginning. Let us consider the facts of the matter, and particularly what was in the beginning from which chaos came. In this way will the truth be clearly demonstrated. So what really stands out to me in those paragraphs is that what is the nature of a shadow? A shadow is not darkness existing, right? It is light, and something is blocking that light from getting through. And that might be pretty obvious, but and I've heard a lot of times people talking about shadows, but it didn't really hit me until I read that's what that is. And I think oftentimes especially if you're dealing with like depression, it can seem that the nature of yourself is darkness. It can seem that that's what exists within you is the darkness. And that's not what it is. It is you have light, but something is blocking that from coming out. So in order to let that line come out, right, if you have a window in your house and you want to let more natural light in, it's going to be very difficult to do that with a tree in the way, right? And you might try to put up, mirrors or something around the tree and redirect the light to come in through the window, but that's not really going to work. In order to get that light through, you're going to have to remove that tree. So we need to realize whenever we're dealing with our shadows that we, especially if it's depression, anxiety, right? We aren't trying to remove the depression or anxiety. We're trying to remove what's causing that. And if we remove what causes that, then our natural state will come back into play, and we won't be dealing with those issues. So with that being said, let's go on to the Gospel of Philip. And this, in my text of the Nag Hammadi Library, is on page 185, is this, and it's the subsection, Ignorance is the Mother of Evil. And it's at the very top of page 185, but if you're reading on gnosis.org or some other place, it'll be under the subheading, Ignorance is the Mother of Evil. Ignorance is the mother of all evil. Ignorance leads to death, because those who come from ignorance neither were, nor are, nor will be. But those in the truth will be perfect when all truth is revealed. For truth is like ignorance. While hidden, truth rests in itself. But when revealed and recognized, truth is praised in that it is stronger than ignorance and error. It gives freedom. The word says, if you know the truth will make you free. Ignorance is a slave. Knowledge is freedom. If we know the truth, we shall find the fruit of truth within us. If we join with it, it will bring us fulfillment. So what stands out for me in that is that freedom comes from knowledge, and ignorance is holding us captive, and we are slaves to our own ignorance. And ignorance, of course, is a lack of understanding. So if we want to remove our shadows, the first thing we have to do is we have to really get to know them. And that's often very difficult. It's hard, and it's not very fun to recognize our shadows and recognize what's causing it. And we all have different shadows, and nobody's path is the same. You might be dealing with anger or something along those lines, whereas I might be dealing with grief or with insecurities. So if we want to remove those aspects of ourselves, we have to find the root cause, and that could be childhood trauma or maybe even past life trauma. So whatever it is, it's going to be different for everybody. And because of that, our pathway to removing that is different. Oftentimes, I've seen on YouTube a lot these videos, and they're like, watch for 20 minutes and find your past life or whatever. I'm sure you've seen them on YouTube, and that might be a way for somebody to get there, but don't be discouraged if you find that doesn't work for you, because everybody's pathway to enlightenment is different, and pathway to gnosis, to understanding, is going to be different. And so we have to find our individual path, and we need to be able to take whatever it is that we're dealing with and find the way that we can remove it. Just at work the other week, I was mopping the floors, and I had just finished up a room, and my boss comes up to me and says, "Hey, you missed something underneath the cart in one of these rooms." And I work in a hospital as a janitor, so I go back in there, I have the mop again, and I go back into this room, and without looking, I kind of just throw the mop back underneath the cart, and I start scrubbing really hard, because I figure, if I scrub harder, like I'll get whatever I missed. So I come back out and I move on, and my boss comes back a little bit later, and she says, "Hey, you still didn't get it. You're gonna have to get down and look underneath there in order to get it." And so I went back into the room, and I got down onto the floor, and I looked underneath, and there was a piece of plastic trash that had been left there. And so what that taught me was that, no matter how hard I was going to mop there, no matter how long I would have done it, a mop is not going to pick up this trash, right? So the tool was not the right tool for the job. And I think oftentimes whenever we're dealing with our shadows, we've seen somebody else talk about how this helped them, but that is not necessarily what's going to help you get rid of the issue that you're facing. So the only way that we can know the issue that we're facing, right, is we have to stand back, and we have to really observe it. And so for me, that was getting on the floor and looking underneath this cart. And that was the only way that I was able to remove this trash. And if I had, just followed the guidelines of mopping, right? If I had just continued to just mop, it was never going to get done. So I think we all should keep that in mind whenever we're dealing with our shadows, that just because something worked for one person doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to work for you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. It'd be really appreciated. Also, if you have any thoughts on this or any thoughts on the Gospel of Philip or on the origin of the world, then please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys and get your thoughts on what these sections of text meant to you and some meaning that you were able to get out of it. Once again, this channel is designed to be a place of conversation and discussion, not just my own thoughts, but your guys's as well. So let me know what you guys thought, and until next time, have a blessed day.